What a beautiful spring day it is here in Quebec. Now, you've been asking for a long time now for us to get vehicles from Toyota. And up until recently, they were the only consumer manufacturer that we didn't have access to with the press fleets. But that has changed. Our spotlight is on this 2019 Toyota C-HR Limited. We're going to be going over everything that you need to know about this vehicle in a very competitive subcompact crossover segment. Now, we featured vehicles like the Mazda CX-3, the Hyundai Kona, and the Kia Niro, which all more or less compete with this. We're going to be showing you everything about it because it is one of the very few front-wheel drive only subcompact crossovers sold here in Canada. Now, you guys have been pretty good predicting when I'm thinking about doing a showdown. You did that with the Lincoln Continental, and just like with that car, we had one booked with this, and it got canceled last minute. So we actually had the Nissan Kicks booked for this week, but it was canceled last minute. Unfortunately, they were both front-wheel drive only subcompact crossovers sold here in Canada. Pricing was quite different too, so I think it was going to be a very interesting comparison. Unfortunately, we can't do that. We're just going to be doing a spotlight on the C-HR here. We'll go over the features on the outside here. It might be a surprise to you to learn some of this stuff. If you're in the market for a subcompact crossover, this should give you all the information that you need. You have LED daytime running lights, but halogen projector headlights. They're not very good. We've tested them at night. It's the only option that they have. You do get power folding and heated side mirrors, which is a nice plus. You don't usually find that in this segment. You have a windshield deicer, which again is a good feature. You can turn it on from the inside. Now, the car comes with lane change assist, blind spot, and rear cross traffic alert. That's part of the limited trim, but then Toyota Safety Sense P adds quite a bit of stuff just from the base model, which I think is good. Lane departure alert with steering assist, dynamic radar cruise control, which is a good thing to have on any vehicle, and it's nice that it's on a subcompact crossover like this. Pre-collision with pedestrian detection, automatic high beams for those amazing halogen headlights, and then with the limited trim you also get rain sensing wipers, which is a good thing to have. We tested it because we've had some pretty crummy weather over the last little while. But the styling itself, I mean, I think it's consistent with the outgoing generation of Toyota's crossovers. I mean, something like the older RAV4, the one that was just replaced, certainly has a similar look. The new RAV4 is a little bit more aggressive. So we might be seeing a facelift within the next little while. I mean, this has been out for a few years now, but it does represent a sort of coupe look as far as I'm concerned. The back end is not quite as functional with that sloping rear end, plus the door handles for the rear doors are up at the top of the trim. We seem to see this with a lot of the smaller vehicles now. But you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. This is essentially it. You do have the two-tone silver and black paint option, which adds about $510 to the price of this vehicle. MSRP is just under $30,000 Canadian, so it's pretty affordable. Again, you don't get all the tech that you get with something like the Mazda CX-3, which we drove a little while ago, but people who are buying this are looking at it because it is a Toyota. Now, around back we have a liftgate. It's not power, we don't expect that. There's no parking sensors or anything like that, but you do have a backup camera. For some reason, the Japanese really do like these C-shaped taillights, so this vehicle has it, much like a lot of the new vehicles coming out of Japan. But aside from that, I mean, I think it has a pretty sporty look to it. It might not be for everybody, but it gets the job done. Small enough as a city car, if that's what you're looking for, then it'll work for you. Now we're going to jump inside, talk about the features there, and then we will take it on a road test to go over the rest of the 2019 C-HR. So let's go over the interior of the 2019 C-HR here. First of all, you get black leather seating. There is an option for brown and black as well, depending on the exterior color that you go with. But you get that with the limited trim. The front seats are both manually operated, but you do have a power driver lumbar support. You have heated front seats, dual zone automatic climate control. I do like this dashboard trim piece here. It is leatherette, probably. It's got a soft touch to it, runs across the top here. Doesn't cover the full dashboard, but does give you a little bit of soft touch texture. Now, there is no sunroof in here, that's why it's a little dark. As we're filming in here, you do have these diamond inlays on the top headliner. It's kind of interesting. No LED lights on the inside here. Now we'll talk about the 8-inch infotainment system here. You do get Apple CarPlay, which is a good plus. There's no Android Auto, but if you were to use the phone app, Toyota's Intune Audio Plus system, then you'd have to download their Scout GPS link. We talked about that quite a bit with the 2018 Toyota Camry that we did. I'm not a fan of it. First of all, I can't get it to work when it's on here. I set it up last night, and when I was in the car, I set it up, worked no problem. Had to use the app, and then you use this Scout link to get it to connect. So then I went back like 2 hours later, had my phone in my pocket, would not connect to the phone anymore. So weird stuff going on there. The problem with that is you need to have a smartphone. If you're using the ScoutLink GPS app, you're basically using your connection all the time to the car. You're using your battery power. There's no wireless charging either. So if you plug in the USB, it switches over to Apple CarPlay. So I'm not a big fan of it. We've talked about it with the Camry. People said the same thing. They don't really like it. It would have been nice for Toyota to finally include a built-in map software here, considering, again, most of the competition. In fact, all the vehicles we've tested in this segment have navigation built in. So Apple CarPlay is a plus, just something to note. You also have a 6-speaker audio system. It's not a premium system here, just 6 basic speakers. Some of the features you do get with the top trim here, you do have a leather-wrapped steering wheel. I find it's a little thin, kind of similar actually to the Volkswagen models that we've driven, so people might like it. You do have some black piano trim around here, plus the controls for volume and track skip, along with your lane keep assist, as well as active cruise control. Now, the last thing I'll talk about here real quick is just the push-button start and keyless entry. You do get that with the limited package. Now, the backseat space, it might be okay for children. My daughter fits back there. She's not the most comfortable. The seats aren't too bad, but space-wise, it is a little bit smaller back there, I find. Especially with the headroom, it is a little bit limited. Now, Toyota promotes the fact that they have rear air vents for the passengers back there, but it's not built into the center tunnel here. They're underneath the seats, just like pretty much every other car. So there are no real features back there for people. There's not even an armrest. The 60/40 folding split seats just do that. That's it. There's no armrest back there. So something to note if you're a passenger in the back there. Essentially, all you get are automatic windows. All 4 of the windows on this car are automatic. That's a nice plus. But aside from that, there really isn't much going back there. Plus, with the lack of a sunroof, it does get dark back there pretty quick. But that's essentially it for the interior of this car. We're going to take it on our road test now, talk about how this car performs and handles with the front-wheel drive only option here in Canada, and everything else you need to know about the C-HR. Now, like I mentioned, I was hoping to do the Nissan Kicks as a showdown with this vehicle. It just didn't work out. We booked it and it didn't happen, but it would have been interesting to see because, obviously for the most part, the subcompact crossover market, they have the option for all-wheel drive. Some of them have all-wheel drive even on the base model. Some of them are front-wheel drive on the base model, and then you can go up to all-wheel drive. But this, the Kicks, and then the Kia Niro are the 3 that I can think of, at least sold here in Canada, that don't have all-wheel drive at all. Now, in global markets, this does have all-wheel drive, and the Kia Niro is a hybrid, so it's like not really comparable. It's a $6,000 price difference between this and that, so people probably aren't going to be cross-shopping them. That's why we're not going to talk about it. But I want to talk a little bit about the ride here. I mean, we have 144 horsepower, 2-liter inline-4. It's naturally aspirated. It's matted to a CVT as well, so it's not going to be your enthusiast driving experience. It doesn't pick up too quick. That was from like 40 to 55 kilometers an hour. I'm not even going to bother doing a 0 to 100 just because the roads are wet. It's 2-wheel drive. Not going to do it. But the point is, for the people who are going to be buying this type of car, they want a city commuter to get kind of around town. It's going to be fine because fuel economy ain't too great. I think Toyota says that it's supposed to do a combined 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers. I don't believe that. We did the 100 kilometer test loop already, and it did 8.3 liters, and that's mostly highway. It's like 94% highway driving, something like that. So yeah, fuel economy is not going to be that great, especially considering it's a front-wheel drive car. It's not like you're wasting fuel because it's all-wheel drive. So fuel economy is not ideal. But I do have to say that interior space and comfort is really good on it. The ride is pretty smooth considering this is, again, a subcompact crossover, so you really aren't going to be riding home about it. But the seats themselves are actually pretty darn nice. They get the job done. I'm actually pretty comfortable here. You sink into them a little bit, and the visibility is good too. I mean, you can really see out the back window, which is something that you often lose out on with these more coupe style kind of crossovers. I know it's not really, but it's a little like that. But overall, the interior makes sense in here. again, the space isn't too bad at all. Now, we did do testing at night. Like I mentioned out front, the halogen projector headlights are very poor. Even the high beams, they do not really do much to help out. So, again, most of the manufacturers in this segment are offering at least xenon HIDs. Some of them, like the Mazda CX-3, have LED headlights. And it's strange because the Corolla, it's all LED headlights. They advertise the fact that the Corolla comes with LED headlights on the base model, and this is sort of like the Corolla crossover. But then again, these vehicles are meant to maximize profit. And that's the thing about Toyota. They have a very loyal customer base. I think that overall, I could take a look at the statistics if you really wanted me to. They're not super easy to find, but from what I've gathered, Toyota is one of the highest retention rate brands in North America when it comes to repeat buyers. People who have a Toyota will either trade it in or sell it and buy another Toyota. So that's one of the reasons why this car exists and why it sells, even though it doesn't have all the features, it doesn't have the most power compared to something like the 2019 Hyundai Kona. You do get something out of it. Now, the one thing I think I'm actually surprised about is there is no hybrid option. I mean, Toyota really was the first in North America to really push their hybrid systems. Obviously with the Prius and vehicles like the Camry started getting it, the RAV4, a lot of their vehicles have a hybrid system, which would certainly help with the fuel economy. And if they did do that, then it would compete with something like the Kia Niro and have a little bit of competition in that segment. So that's what I would like to see. As somebody who drives a very wide range of vehicles, whether it's performance cars or enjoyable practical cars, or then things like this, they're meant to be economical, they're meant to be small vehicles to be used in the city for people who want to save a bit of coin and get something that works. That would be the thing that I would like to see, because at 8 liters per 100 kilometers roughly to be driving around, that ain't great. I mean, I know they're not comparable, but I drove the BMW M850i on the same kind of road course, and it did better, 7.9 liters, and that's a 523 horsepower twin turbo V8. So that did better in fuel economy than this little tiny crossover. So things to note. Like I said, people are going to be buying this because they're loyal to Toyota, and that's fine. But there's something for everybody when it comes to these vehicles. Is it the fully loaded version out there? Yes, for this car. Is it the most equipped for the competition? I'd say no. I say that there are other options out there. But again, Toyota's been known for their reliability. They've been known for holding on to their value a lot longer than other brands. So you have those things that are huge pluses. Plus, a lot of people like the service that they get at Toyota. I mean, we hear a lot in the comments about dealership experiences, and obviously that is going to be very different from dealer to dealer and from brand to brand. But the one that I really don't hear any complaints about is Toyota. So you've certainly got that as a plus.
I do expect a facelift for the C-HR within the next little while, considering some of Toyota's top sellers like the Corolla, RAV4, and Camry have all been updated within the last year. But let's talk about fuel economy. As mentioned, we did 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers, or about 28 US miles per gallon on our test loop, and that number stayed about the same at 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers during our time with the 2019 C-HR. In terms of likes, the seats were very comfortable given the size of the vehicle and segment it occupies. Overall visibility was also good with the large windows, all of which had power down and up, and the seatbelt notification along the bezel of the infotainment system is a good passive safety feature that we're starting to see from more manufacturers. The windshield deicer is a plus for a vehicle in this segment, though we couldn't test it out during our week, but it did seem to help while clearing off the rain efficiently. And finally, having active cruise control is a great thing that we don't often find in this segment, and helps to make your daily commute a little less fatiguing. But there are some dislikes when it comes to this Toyota, and considering how competitive the market is, there's always room for improvement. The halogen headlights are truly bad. In fact, the daytime running lights seem to help illuminate the road better, though we only tested that while parked. The ScoutLink GPS app is also a huge miss, considering all the other subcompact crossovers we've tested have the option for embedded navigation software. The lack of an all-wheel drive option for the price is also a miss, considering the direct competitor, the Nissan Kicks, comes fully equipped for less than 24,000 Canadian. Finally, the lack of backseat features like an armrest is an important miss, especially if you have children or want to bring friends out for a trip. But what do you think about this 2019 Toyota C-HR? Does it fit in line with the rest of the competition, or should Toyota look to push a refresh sooner? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already.